On today's video, Kingdom 573 breaks into a civil war as two alliances try to get rid of one in the temple area. In this video, we're going to talk about what happened in Kingdom 573, a little bit of what led to this. We got a few messages that went out across the kingdom, among other things. A bunch of people got zeroed, other flags got wrecked, mayhem all over this place. And this video will explain exactly what happened there. So sit back, drop a like on the video. Hey there YouTube, welcome back to Gekko Gaming. Today we have a Civil War coverage in Kingdom 573. Before we start though, I am a sponsored content creator by Rise of Kingdoms, and if you enjoy the content, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell to get a notification. We cover Civil Wars all over the place. If you guys missed the Civil War videos, make sure you drop likes on this video to let me know to make these more. And of course, if you know of any Civil War happening, hit us up on Discord or in-game. I'm in Kingdom 59 in JWM. You'll definitely find me there. So, this is pretty much the end of their KVK. Their KVK in Kingdom 573 is, I believe, still going on, but they decided to port home because it's time to take care of business there. These are three alliances, 73HI, 70, and which you'll see all of them right here, 73IF, which is the bigger alliance out of the three. From there, you have the folks that are being attacked, which are 73HI, the Hot Inquisition team. And from there, you have the red team on this too, which are going up against 73HI, which are right here. Come on, hit that flag. There you go. The folks of 73PE, which are the medium size. So the smallest alliance in the kingdom is the one getting hit right now. These messages came out explaining kind of what's going on. This is a kingdom mail, an internal alliance mail, and all that good stuff. If you guys want to know a little bit of what was sent out there from leadership, stop the video, give it a read, and come back. We're not going to go over those letters specifically, but I'll tell you a broader story of what happened here. So apparently, 573 is a kingdom that has had already two other civil wars, I believe. And what ended up happening is the good old classic situation, which we talked about in a couple of Civil War videos in the past, recent past really, which have to do with alliances and big groups migrating into kingdoms. My understanding, and this is again, I've never heard of 573 up until I was hit up that there's a civil war there. There are multiple people who gave me a few perspectives on how this went down. So it's not necessarily the capital T truth exactly what happened. But this is my understanding of the things that I was told, by the way, by people from every single one of these alliances. Massive shout out to you guys. That was the coolest part of covering this Civil War, is that every single alliance participating in this had someone hit me up and kind of like tell me a little bit of what's going on, as well as try to get me reports, try to tell me where things are happening, what's going on, and all that good stuff. So massive shout out to you all and to the community for being so supportive of this Civil War coverage, even if it's your own kingdom in Civil War. Kind of nuts. My understanding is that essentially 73HI is the last native alliance. And by native alliance, I don't mean like migrants versus natives per se, but an alliance that was built and started from 573. The other two alliances I understand are either a majority or a big part, if not a majority, comprised of migrants, of folks who came into the kingdom. And as time went by, those two kingdoms, those two alliances and bigger groups of alliances slowly got rid of the native population, quote unquote, and it got to a point where essentially 73HI is the last native remaining per se. That doesn't necessarily mean that the other two alliances don't have folks who grew in 573 who went to them and all that stuff, but that's kind of like the background behind all this. And they had a bad KVK. They had a really bad KVK, a lot of arguments, both internal and external, in their team, in the situation they were in. And yeah, that's what happens when multiple groups govern. One of my fears for Kingdom 904, for example, was just this, essentially, where these groups might have worked together for a very long time, but as time went on, they built a little bit of resentment among each other due to the fact that they're a group of people leading, and in the group there's always someone who's losing because there's always going to be an opposition unless everything is done unanimously, at which case good luck with that. And so you get to a point where essentially a KVK happens, and then the internal situation among these three alliances boils up, and then the internal conflict among them and the frustration and the little bit of resentment that was built as time went on essentially blew up into a civil war, which is kind of neat and kind of up to par with the kingdom's health. I wanted to touch on a subject really quickly that we have not spoken about yet ever, and I think that we're going to make a little bit of more content that's driven on that in the near future, which is how does the life cycle of a kingdom go? Because every single big kingdom and small kingdom end up going through these cycles, right? Through these situations where the kingdom either flourishes, becomes amazingly big, becomes a machine, it wrecks everything, but slowly and steadily things break down there, and at some point it all goes away. We've had kingdoms from 103 that split up into a bunch of big kingdoms nowadays. We had 46 had a few folks migrate after the last KVK, I believe. We had 196, which went from a powerhouse to an implosion. RX went this way, LG went that way, and it was a whole fiasco. And so kingdoms do go through these cycles, and some have been able to resist the cycles of migrants coming in and taking over the kingdom, stopping internal arguments from becoming explosive and all these things. I think that this kingdom just has always fallen into the fast track to implosion. From my understanding, this is their third civil war. My way of looking at it is, in the life cycle of a kingdom, there are like trap doors, that if you fall into that trap door, you're essentially on the fast lane to hell. And if you play your kingdom correctly, you essentially end up at hell, right? At the end of the day, all kingdoms break apart. But the question is how long of a drive you have and how much you enjoy it along the way, right? And so I think that some of these kingdoms have fallen into the early trap doors, which just instantly took them out, instead of having a life cycle of their kingdom which allowed them to grow, flourish, and maintain for a very, very long period of time. And this is Kingdom 573. This is not necessarily a young but not also an old kingdom. And they've gone through 4 civil wars already, 3 civil wars. Something is not adding up there in the way the kingdom is being handled to an extent. And those are topics that we're going to dive into a lot more as we cover civil wars and as we cover situations on why civil wars happen. We're really going to start digging deeper into how a kingdom, what kind of pitfalls kingdoms fall through, because I feel like I've had a little bit of experience in that department. I was there in 196 from the beginning when it was an unbelievable experiment that was doing really, really well, and it was a monster to be contested with, to what it is today, which along the way you can recognize some pitfalls and traps along that happen. I was there when in Kingdom 200 when DJ essentially imploded that kingdom much faster than 196 they did theirs, for example. We've seen this happen in 103. We've seen the resilience of a huge kingdom holding up, which is Kingdom 93. We're seeing the formation of big kingdoms like 331 and so forth and so on. 341 too. These are kingdoms that have managed to hold through time, and they haven't gone through these kinds of things. And it's curious for me to dig deeper into what makes a kingdom really successful and how you essentially make sure you enjoy all the road to hell and you don't just take shortcuts along the way from trapdoors of like very small things that long term cause a massive situation, like for example having too many migrants coming in or having too many people controlling and making decisions and having votes happen. These are the things that sometimes cause issues, and I think we're gonna dig a little bit deeper into that whole subject. But for now, one last thing, some of you might be asking, what's this overlay? I'm trying something new. For the record, some things need to be changed in here, but in case you want to know why there's so much of the space taken by the overlay, when I record on mobile, it records on a different resolution. And so what you're seeing is essentially me blocking the chat and blocking the black bar at the bottom. There is no footage essentially being blocked by it except for the chat and I guess the back home button. And that's about that. These guys zeroed each other out. I don't know what they're going to do. It's fun to watch. It sucks to be there. This guy was actually online taking all these rallies, which was kind of hilarious. And yeah, I mean, I wonder what's going on in there now. I think it's still going on. I think they haven't made their piece in here yet, or folks haven't migrated out yet. But we'll keep you posted. And if there's something else to add into this story, we definitely will. And we'll for sure touch on this again tomorrow on stream, 4 p.m. UTC on Saturday, maybe 4:15 p.m. UTC. We'll chill. We'll have a good time. Talk about KVK. Talk about team-ups. We got Garden of Infinity 2 to spin and all that good stuff. I'll see you all there. Thank you very much for all your continued support and everything you guys have been doing lately. Let's enjoy a couple of extra zeroings before we leave. Man, all these cities that weren't shielded got rallied. And at some point, there were like 7 or 8 cities being rallied at the same time. It was nutty. These guys really went to town at each other. And I get it. I mean, if it comes to it and the 2 big alliances decide that, or even the 2 smaller alliances decide that the bigger one is not part of the team anymore and there's no way to resolve it, there's no way to work it out, you duke it out. What can you do? That's what ended up happening here. And it sucks. I wouldn't want to be in their place. I would have hoped that after working together for so long, the least that could have happened here was like migrate away peacefully. That sometimes happens, that sometimes doesn't. But hey, we get to see a bunch of folks see this guy's online. He's just like, are you going to keep doing this? He keeps getting hit and enjoying it. It's kind of hilarious. But with all that being said, I'll see you all sooner rather than later. I'll leave you guys a little bit of the footage before we leave. Take care and have a good one. Peace.